Someone has been on your mind, not in the casual way, not the brief flicker of a memory while you are washing dishes. This is deeper than that. This is the kind of presence that wakes you at 2 a.m. or makes you pause mid-sentence because for just a moment you could have sworn you felt someone standing just at the edge of your peripheral vision. A person, a version of yourself, a life that almost happened. Something unfinished is pressing through the membrane between your past and your present, and it has been pressing with increasing urgency over these last few days. You are not imagining this. You are not unwell. You are not stuck in the past in some way that needs to be managed or corrected. You are being visited. What is arriving for you in the 48 hours surrounding April 10th and 11th is not an accident of memory or emotion. It is a scheduled return. The sky is conducting a final karmic accounting, and the items in that ledger, the connections that left before they were complete, the parts of yourself you quietly retired when the world asked too much of you, the dreams you postponed for 12 years and called practical wisdom, are finding their way back through an opening in the cosmic fabric that will not stay open long. The question is not whether you believe in this. The question is whether you are willing to be present for it when it arrives. I need you to stay with me through this entire video, because what I am going to show you about these next 2 days is not a general forecast. It is a precise and personal invitation, and I do not want you to miss a word of it. Let us look at what is actually happening in the sky, because once you understand the mechanics of this moment, the strange restlessness you have been feeling, that sense of something unresolved pressing up through your ordinary life, will stop feeling like a problem and start feeling like the answer. April 10th, 2026. The sky is holding a profound and historic tension. A rare, concentrated cluster of planetary energy, a massive stellium, is igniting in the fire of Aries, demanding that a fierce new era begins. But to step into that new fire, the universe is forcing a final reckoning with the deep waters of Pisces. Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac, the sign of the ocean, of everything that dissolves and returns, of the invisible threads connecting people across time and distance. When the undeniable force of the Aries stellium collides with the karmic depths of Pisces, the veil thins. What was hidden surfaces. What was unspoken arrives in your body as a physical sensation, a tightness in the chest, a sudden welling of emotion without an obvious source, a dream that stays with you well past morning. Things that belong to you are being gathered and returned. Have you been unusually emotional this week? Not about anything in particular, but as if all of your feelings have been moved slightly closer to the surface than usual? Right now, across April 10th and 11th, Mercury is moving through its final, most potent degrees of Pisces before its shift. Mercury is the planet of communication and message, the cosmic postal service delivering signals between minds and between worlds. In most signs, Mercury operates in sharp, efficient lines. Here is the fact, here is the analysis, here is the conclusion. But when Mercury spends its final days swimming through the ocean of Pisces, logic softens. Messages stop arriving in sentences and start arriving in feelings, in symbols, and in what we call gut knowing, that flash of recognition that bypasses your rational mind and lands directly in your chest. This is not a week to rely on spreadsheets or to second-guess your way to a decision. Late-degree Mercury in Pisces delivers truth through recognition, that moment when something lands with a weight that says, "I already knew this. I was simply waiting for confirmation." Be extraordinarily attentive to what arrives unexpectedly, in dreams, in a song playing at the precisely right moment, in a name surfacing from nowhere. The universe is sending messages through channels that bypass ordinary reason. And be careful with anything requiring your signature or financial commitment right now. The fog of Pisces can soften the hard edges of things that deserve to stay clearly defined. And all of this is happening while Mars continues to build his fire in Aries, the cosmic warrior who entered his home sign on April 9th and is now electrifying this entire transit. Think of it this way. The lingering Pisces energy is the ocean floor where everything unresolved has been resting, patient and preserved, waiting for its moment of return. Mars in Aries is the tide, irresistible, unstoppable, pulling every hidden, submerged, carefully preserved thing up toward the surface and the shore. The current drawing things back to you right now is not a minor astrological footnote. It is a force of nature. Now, the 12-year cycle. This is the heart of what I need you to understand. Jupiter, the planet of expansion and cosmic law, takes approximately 12 years to travel through all 12 signs of the zodiac and return to its starting point. This is not a metaphor. It is the measured orbital period of the largest planet in our solar system. Every 12 years, Jupiter completes his full revolution, and the themes of your life set in motion during his last visit to a particular sign arrive at their moment of completion, their long-awaited moment of fruit. Right now, Jupiter is moving through Cancer, the sign of home, of deep emotional roots, of the family bonds and belonging that shape who we are at the most foundational level. 12 years ago, between 2013 and 2014, Jupiter was also in Cancer. This is not a coincidence of calendar. It is an invitation to examine what you began in those years, the emotional decisions you made, the connections you formed or walked away from, the versions of home and security you reached for or released, and to recognize that those stories are not finished. They are arriving at their completion. Some of you will feel this as a literal return, a relationship resurfacing, an opportunity circling back that you were not ready for 12 years ago, a part of your life that went quiet and is now beginning to speak again with new insistence. Some of you will feel it as an internal return, the self you set aside in 2013 and 2014, the one who wanted something your circumstances would not allow, is knocking on the door of your present life and asking to be let in. Have you been sensing that something from that period of your life is unfinished? That a door you believed had closed is showing light underneath it? This is why. Let me anchor this moment in something larger than this week's sky, because the cosmic pattern unfolding in these 48 hours has a texture that history can show us more clearly than any forecast. The late 1970s. Across the United States, something quiet, almost invisible, was beginning among women in their 40s and 50s. Women who had spent 2 decades pouring themselves into the enormous cultural experiment of being the first generation told they could and perhaps must do everything simultaneously. Career, family, partnership, community, all of it, all at once, with grace and without complaint. These women were not in crisis in the dramatic sense. They were in a process of return. Not a return to who they had been before all of it began, but a return to a version of themselves that had been waiting, unchanged, underneath all the years of doing. Interest deferred for 20 years. A quality of interior life, quiet, unhurried, genuinely their own, that had not disappeared but had been living underground, preserving itself for precisely this kind of season. You could not read about it in the newspapers of the time. It was too private, too ordinary to make headlines, but it was real, and it changed who those women became in everything that followed. This rare cosmic threshold is conducting that same ceremony inside you right now. 1989 and 1990. The months following the opening of the Berlin Wall, when families separated for nearly 3 decades began finding each other again. The people on both sides of those reunions had lived entirely different lives in the years between. And yet, the essential recognition between them, the thread of who they were to each other, laid down before any wall was built, had not been severed by the years. It had only been waiting. Those reunions were more complicated, more honest, and ultimately more whole than a simple return to what had been. They were two people, each changed by their separate story, choosing to weave those stories into a new form, carrying what happened in between openly into what came next. Some of the returns available to you this week will feel like that. Not a restoration of what was, a completion of what was always true beneath what happened. 2013 and 2014. Jupiter's last full passage through Cancer. In those years, quietly and then less quietly, something shifted in the way a generation of Americans understood what home meant and what enough meant. Millions of people, many of them in midlife, began examining the structures they had accumulated through decades of doing what they were supposed to do, and found themselves reaching not for more, but for something more essential. The permission to release what no longer served, the courage to redesign life around what was real rather than what was expected. What those years initiated emotionally and spiritually, Jupiter is now completing. The harvest of that quiet internal revolution is ready to be gathered. What did you begin to let go of in 2013 and 2014? Not the objects, but the assumptions, the obligations accepted without examination? The harvest of what you genuinely chose in that season is arriving right now. Here is what I need you to understand about the karmic reset unfolding in these 48 hours. It is not arriving to punish you for what was left undone. Karma, in the tradition I work within, is not a moral courtroom. It is a physics of completion. Like water that always finds its own level, like a circle that cannot rest until it closes, karmic energy moves through time until it finds the shape it was always reaching for. The things returning to you right now, the people, the aspects of yourself, the directions not yet taken, are not returning as accusations. They are returning because the loop is completing. Your exhaustion, the weight you have been carrying through this long season, the sense of your life in a kind of suspension, it was not a verdict on your adequacy. It was the preparation for this exact moment of return. You were not failing. You were becoming the person who could finally receive what was always meant for you. Have you been carrying something you quietly suspected you might have to carry a little longer? What if this week is where you finally set it down? There is a specific quality of release that only becomes possible when a cycle completes. Not the forced release of telling yourself to let go, but the organic release of something falling away naturally because it has arrived at the end of its arc. That quality of release is available to you between April 10th and April 11th. It requires one thing from you: willingness to receive rather than manage. Let me speak now about what to do in these next 48 hours. Not as a prescription, because this transit rewards stillness far more than strategy, but as an offering. I want you to practice what I call the return inventory. This one does not live on paper. This one lives in the body, which is where the deepest truths speak most clearly. Find 10 quiet minutes today and tomorrow. A chair near a window is enough. The kitchen after the household has gone quiet is enough. Close your eyes and take 3 breaths that go all the way down. The full, deliberate kind you forget to take during ordinary days when there is always something more urgent than the simple act of breathing. Then ask yourself 3 questions, one at a time, with a full pause between them, long enough for the honest answer to rise through the noise. The first, who or what from my past has been returning to my mind this week, and what is the unfinished truth between us? The second, 12 years ago, what did I put down because the world said I should, even when something in me was not ready to let it go? The third, what is the version of myself I have been waiting for permission to become? And whose permission am I still waiting for? You do not need to analyze the answers or turn them into a plan. The deep waters of this transit do not ask for plans. They ask for honesty. Let the answers exist. Let them be real without immediately asking what to do with them. Because that recognition, the moment you stop pretending you do not know something, is itself the act of completion. The energy held in not knowing releases the instant you acknowledge what you know. And that release is precisely what allows the new configuration of your life to arrive. One more thing before I let you go. The people who return this week, the opportunities that circle back, the dreams that reappear after years of quiet, they will not find the version of you from 12 years ago. They will find the version of you who survived 12 years. Who grew through everything that happened in between. Who arrived here carrying a depth, a patience, and a clarity about what actually matters that could not have been earned any other way. What returns meets you as you are now, and who you are now is exactly the right person to complete what could not be completed then. You did not miss your moment. Your moment has been building toward you the entire time. In the comments below, I want you to leave one short phrase beginning with the words, "I am now ready." Complete it with the thing your soul has been holding in safekeeping, waiting for this season. Post it below. Because when you name what you are ready for in a space where others can witness it, the universe registers that as a declaration. And declarations made inside this karmic threshold move like ripples across deep water, quietly, invisibly, and farther than you can see from the shore. If this video spoke to something you have been quietly carrying, I would be grateful if you shared it with one person who needs to hear it today. And if you are not yet part of the Vibration Wisdom community, this is exactly the right moment to join us. Please subscribe, because on April 12th, I will release a video about the most important cosmic shift of this season, and you need to be prepared. What is returning to you is not a ghost. It is not nostalgia. It is the rest of your story. And after 12 years of preparation, you are finally ready to live it.